Welcome to Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power. Meet your host, Stephanie Wall, and your co-host, Hope Jackson. Are you tired of feeling like you don't have the power to make all of your dreams come true? Women are powerful. You're a woman, and you know that women are powerful. But sometimes it's hard to remember how much power we have when the world around us makes us feel powerless. And that is why I created Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power. It's an online community where women can come together for support, encouragement, and inspiration so they can remember their own power every day. So join us on our mission to empower women by joining Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power today. Hey, new members. So let's go. Join us at Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power. All right. Oh, how excited. So listen, I am Stephanie Wall, your transformation architect. Stephanie Wall, the founder of Speaker Stephanie LLC and the founder of Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power and 1 million lives transformed. So today, and every day, we transforming lives, relationships, and finances. But I'm excited because today y'all get to speak and meet with my Sarah, Dr. Sadie. Now, I was on Dr. Sadie's podcast, and y'all, she'll tell you all about that because she's prepared all by herself. But right now, I get the pleasure. Y'all see me and my co-host, baby. We both popping and rocking the red, honey. Woo! We just raw red today, royal red. Don't get us, Dr. Sadie. Don't get us, because I know you got a closet full of red over there, royal red. But here we go. I'm kicking over to my favorite girl, my co-host, Hope Jackson. Hope, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you for joining us tonight on Her Story, Our Story. But first, I'm going to give honor to God. I'm just going to open in prayer. So Heavenly Father, we just come to you. We just say thank you, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to come together in this community to support each other, Lord Father God. We know sometimes as women, we're tearing each other down, but I thank you for this community where we're lifting each other up and encouraging, inspiring each one to teach one and to transform lives. Lord Father God, we just thank you for Stephanie's obedience and starting Her Story or Our Story. We thank you for our guest tonight, Lord Father God. And we just pray that someone will receive some information that will shift and change their lives. Lord Father God, anybody that is coming on, who wants to come on, just allow them to come in, to be open to hear what it is the Lord has for them to hear tonight. And all these things we ask in your mighty and precious name. Amen. Yeah. So Dr. Sadie, we are super excited to have you on here tonight. So as Stephanie introduced, I am Hope Jackson. I am the co-host here of Her Story, Our Story. I am also the owner and founder of Always Hope LLC. And my mission and purpose in Always Hope is to help those to unlock what is hidden inside. The Greek definition of hope is finding those things that are lost inside. So my goal and purpose is to help women to unlock that. So again, we just thank you for coming on tonight. And just to kind of break the ice, I'm gonna open up with an icebreaker. So if you had an extra hour of free time every day, how would you use it?
For me, I probably want to study or meditate, and to meditate on I'd actually like to probably go into gratitudes, just to sit and write on the gratitudes of the day. Because that's something I put on my calendar for every day at a certain time to list the gratitudes and things that I'm grateful for.
Okay, I like that. That's really good. And then one other question. If you were to be stranded on a desert island, what three things would you take with you?
On a desert island, water, some fruit, and I think a pair of sneakers.
Is the sneakers so you make sure you're comfortable while you're on the island?
No, because I like to walk, and so as long as I'm thinking, when I was saying that, I said, okay, I'll feed my body, but I'd also have to feed my mind and my spirit. And so when I'm walking in those sneakers, I'll be talking to God.
I love that. I love that. That is amazing. All right. Well, so what is your 5-word story and what does that mean to you? What do your 5 words mean to you?
All right. Well, my 5 words was a challenge because I do a lot of words all day long, lecturing and things of that nature. But the first one I came up with is resilience. And I'm saying that I've adjusted and recovered over my life, adjusted to different things that have happened in my life, whether I wanted them to come or not come. I've had to adjust. So I've been resilient. Perseverance, I've pushed through. I'm one of 6 children. All of us have gone to college, but I'm the only one and the first one to go to graduate school, and the only one with a doctorate degree. And so it took some perseverance because there were lots of discouragement, from family and friends, because, some people don't understand, they don't really mean any harm, but they don't understand what God has put into your heart, into your mind. So I've had to persevere. The other word, my 3rd word, is community, because what the radio show that I host and actually what I've done in getting into healthcare and to be teaching other healthcare professionals is all about the community of human beings at large, and my community more specifically. And with getting my master's in public health with concentration in health equity, it actually even emphasizes that even more, that I really am into the health inequities, health disparities in healthcare. So that's all about my community. Support. I want to be supportive to other people that are doing things, doing positive things, and I try to definitely do that. And I'd like to receive some support. I don't often receive that support. Lots of times I have to go and do it alone. It takes some resilience, some perseverance to do those things by yourself, but I've had to do it. It would be nice not to have to. The last word of my 5 words, I thought about, was a couple of them. I thought about humanity, which kind of tied into my community, of that 4th word. And the other, I thought about political involvement, because in the United States of America, politics has to do with money, and money has to do with politics, which has to do with our community and our survival. I think about the reparations that are due to us and have been due to us for quite a number of years. And that is definitely a political thing. It's a definite economic thing, and economics just makes such a difference in our community. So.
All right. Stephanie, I see you popped back in. Did you want to read Dr. Sadie's bio, or do you want me to just go ahead and dig in? Just dig in? Okay. So Dr. Sadie, I know you and Stephanie are connected. And so again, you mentioned a lot of things. You talked about the resilience and the perseverance. And Stephanie just mentioned that you are a domestic violence survivor. So I definitely believe that resilience and that perseverance is probably what helped you to overcome. But just tell the audience a little bit about what you overcame in adversity with domestic violence.
Well, I guess ooh, is that me having the feedback?
You're okay. I just muted myself.
Oh, okay. With the domestic violence, I think that the biggest thing I had to get to understand about a narcissistic personality, which I really didn't quite get that because I wasn't I was raised by both my mom and dad, and I didn't see that narcissism. I didn't recognize it. But you know, my mother always said you'd understand it better by and by, and that's exactly what has happened. I understand it now. I also understand that I repeated behavior, and so many of us do. You know, we talk about nurture versus nature, and the deal is that sometimes nurturing is more prevalent in your life than even nature. My mom was a domestic violence survivor, unfortunately, and domestic violence has unfortunately sometimes you do replicate what you see, and so thinking that that was a behavior that was acceptable. So often I remember my mother saying, you make your bed hard, you got to lay in it. And I had to constantly try to understand what that meant. And it meant that if you make a decision like marrying someone that you know is mentally or emotionally or physically abusive, then you already understand that that's the decision that you've made, and you've got to stay in there and endure that emotional abuse and endure that physical abuse. But I finally realized that no, I didn't have to endure it. I didn't have to do it, and I felt so much better. It let me know that finances are good, finances are wonderful, and we all know that. I just did a presentation last week about women and leadership and things of that nature. We know women, especially Black women, don't make the amount of money a white man makes. It takes us to August of the next year to make what he makes. So, you know, economically, it's easier to, financially, you kind of stay with someone for financial reasons. But, and I think our mothers, a lot of our mothers did that. But I got to the point that, you know, I had to realize when I was living in Marietta, Georgia, with my son and I in a 1-bedroom apartment, I had to realize that peace of mind was so valuable. Not to have someone, you know, questioning where you're going, when you're coming, how you're going, you know, doing all of that, that peace of mind, I just really, really value it. I said, it is definitely worth its weight in gold. So I persevered and was doing the residency program that I did in the VA in Baltimore and in Perry Point, Maryland, and had found out I was pregnant just before I left to go do that program. And it took a lot of perseverance, a whole lot of power to just push on through, to know that, you know, yes, I'm pregnant. Yes, my husband still at that time is not in the same state with me. Dealt with the emotional abuse that you're nothing without me, nothing, you know, and had to, you know, really had to get my self-esteem and self-worth back together. As Stephanie and I talked about, I think I really, really, truly believe that the only way someone, whether it's male or female, and it reminds me of the webinar that my sorority chapter here in Daytona Beach, Florida, we did a webinar on domestic violence, and there was a male and there were a couple of females, and we all kind of really came to the conclusion you would not let someone physically touch you until they had emotionally or mentally abused you. Because normally if somebody hits you, you hit them back. It's kind of like instinctive. It's kind of a kind of innate reaction. But when you in the domestic violence situation, you've been beaten down so bad emotionally and self-esteem and self-worth wise, and so you accept that. And then you get even in the self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, you kind of get told all day long that you're nothing and this is being told to you by someone that supposedly loves you. And so you start to believe that. And when you believe that, then it allows you to get pushed down. It took a lot of resilience, perseverance, God's grace, for sure, for me to get my self-esteem and self-worth back up, to know that, I deserve better. I'm sorry that, I'm so sorry that my mother endured that.
Dr. Sadie, I got to come on here and tell you and you will appreciate it. And thank you for sharing that, because it's hard. It never gets easy. It never gets easy. Even when you're telling, you feel it. And in order to share any part of the story, you have to go back to it. And nobody wants to be in that place. You can almost feel like you're in the room or in the space again. Yeah. So I wanted to share with you that I was on Clubhouse, let me go on Clubhouse, and boom, I came across this title, and it said, "Are Black women victims or perpetrators of domestic violence?" So, I had to pop up in that room. Within minutes, I was up on the stage, and I'm telling you, I was up there for 2 hours. And I really had the two hours, but I was in that room for 2 hours, and it became almost heated. It was crazy. There were pretty much everybody on the stage, were a little bit of everybody, but most of the people that were running it were people of color. The room was opened by a male, and these two males in particular, they were both like facilitators, and a couple of females. And I'm going to tell you, it became between me and another woman who was in there, and we were survivors. We were just trying to just stand our ground, because their argument was this: well, how many times are we supposed to come and support you all and listen to y'all those sad stories? And it was like, wow, like how much? What about us? What about us? When we have to keep, men and women go to jail, keep coming to your defense, and you keep going back, and what do you expect us to do? And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm not disagreeing with you. But and they said, well, what are we supposed to do? And I said, something. The answer is not to do the answer. There's no answer to doing nothing. You understand? See, doing nothing is why people get killed. And oftentimes family members don't tell other family members, because they know they're going to do something, they're going to hurt somebody, or because of that response right there. If so one guy went on and on. You know what I told him? I said, I don't know. What do you do when you have a family member on drugs? Do you tell them, what are we supposed to do? Or do we just keep on trying to save them? And it was ridiculous. And by the end, I stayed, and I finally said, okay, I got to get off. But I told them one of the reasons I popped on there is because I am, and I shared that with you, Dr. Sadie, how adamant I am that not only do I stand up for myself and every other woman that has experienced domestic violence, but I'm standing with those other silent victims, those men who will not, because society won't let them tell the truth that they too have been victimized, and some of the cases just as drastically and horrifically as women. And so I will tell you, there was a man, a brother up on there, and he told his story, and I couldn't even breathe. And so it became the three of us against everybody. But we were all like, listen, we was throwing signs at him and everything else. So, but their argument, they were just angry, because their whole argument was that where they grew up and the way they grew up, women, and it was women agreeing with them, the way they grew up, that women, that's what women do. They fight, women put their hands on you, women hit you, and and it's all like it's all good. And I said, no, everybody keep their hands to themselves. Right? But I just want to share that with you, because I thought that conversation, honestly, it took me almost an hour. I had to go somewhere and sit down and pray, because I was infuriated by the conversation. I said, wow. So if these are the type of conversations, one, there were people in the room that thought it was okay. It's okay that women you know, you grow up and a woman can knock the taste out of it. I'm talking to one guy said he was driving down the street. He don't know what he did, but the girl just started kicking his behind and punch him all in his face. And he was like, oh, it's okay. He said, you know, that's what we do. That's what the shorties do. And I was like, what? What room am I in? And then I realized that I was in a room with like artists, people that are artists. Like these are people that make millions of dollars. And so this is a mentality that we have to live with. So I mean, so know that there are some people that think it is A-OK that women abuse men. And they also or have a problem with women that don't leave and they go back to their abuser. They blame them, period, in the story. They don't care anything about the psychology. They don't care anything about the fact that they've been programmed. They don't know, and they don't understand Stockholm syndrome, none of that. So just understand that you may go in the clubhouse and those are some of the rooms you have to go in there and hold, you have to drop some of that grad school on them. You know, might have to drop a few words and to pray to the people, bring out the book. But whatever you do, don't leave the space. Keep on coming back. I mean, I was like, well, let me just say, I agree with you. I would agree with you about that, but there was always a but in there. And that is why I was there for 2 hours. But I wanted to ask you, because there's other women, how did you overcome? How did you get from, what got you to your next? How did you be, before you were Dr. Sadie McConner, how did you overcome your adversity and how do you help other women overcome theirs?
How did I overcome the adversity of the abuse?
You can talk about that, but I do want you to talk about how you got out of that situation. But I do also want you to talk about how you became the woman that you are today, because you know what's oftentimes, and I'm sure you agree, that when you experience something like that in your life, it affects your self-esteem. And so it's hard to grow to your next. You don't think you deserve to have anything. So talk about dealing with that part.
Because I kind of think even now, when I go to see my my mental health counselor, she and I have talked about it, and she's talked about the fact she's told me to be my authentic self, just be who I am, not to minimize who I am, not you know, because I've been learning more and more about that imposter syndrome. And I've talked to a very good friend of mine. He happens to be my financial guy, and he just has told, because we like sisters and brothers, and he's told me that he said we both have suffered from that. It's been challenging. I said, you know, I wish that I had started going to see a mental health counselor years ago, to be very honest with you, especially someone that fits with you in your life. I definitely decided, you know, this is second or third, but this is really the second one that I really really have taken up having sessions with. My suggestion is, for me as a Black woman, I knew I had to have a Black woman, because for me, I didn't want to, and I don't want to have to explain to her my daily struggles. So, you know, Eric, because your skin, you're my kin, my skin doesn't mean you're my kin. It doesn't mean that she knows what I'm going through, because there are some people that are my color that this just don't understand what they've gone through. I had to get I wanted an African American, and I wanted an African American female, because I didn't want to have to explain to her of the microaggressions that I deal with every day, the questions of my competency every day. You know, I wanted someone who already knew where I was or was living that same exact life, so I wouldn't have to explain that, and I could get to the nitty gritty. I didn't feel, you know, not saying that totally a white man could not understand, but I would have to explain it to him, and because he doesn't live that life. You know, what microaggressions is, you know, he dealing with, who, you know, what job turns him down, what bank he doesn't go through what I go through. You know, as I brought that presentation to the National Center of Bioethics last week. I deal with double onlys. I'm not the majority of the time, I'm not only the only Black there or the only African American. I'm also the only African American female. So I've got to deal with those double onlys, or that intersectionality, as Dr. Crenshaw said. And so luckily, the perseverance you've got to pray. You've got to pray. You've got to have support. You've got to ask God to be there for you. Because I'm telling you, I really did not have the support. And my line sisters, we were talking about that last month. They said, well, Sadie, you always wanted to. Yes, you lots of us have desires, but we don't always fulfill our desires. And I'll be very honest with you, when I walked across that stage at Winston-Salem State University and I got my bachelor's degree, I knew when I walked across that stage that day, within my spirit, it said, this will not be the last stage that you walk across. And, did I know which ones how many I would go? It just within my spirit, just knew this was not going to be it. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to try not to be emotional. Okay.
It's all right. It's all right. Take a deep breath. I understand. Look, listen. Lisa Nichols says the tears, right? Our tears are natural cheek softeners. And this is a safe place right here. Where they said, if you can't cry with your sorrows, you can't cry with your sisters, then who in the world can you cry with? Listen, those tears are healing also. So you know what? Just take a deep breath. Blow it out. And as one of my dear friends, Reverend Roulette, told me, whenever I feel like it's coming, look up. Look up. Look up.
But
all right, what you got?
I think about it when I realized that I was going to be a single parent, because my ex-husband was getting, I had just had my son. He was only a month old, and he threatened violence. And I put him out, had him put out, and I realized I was washing the dishes, and I was like, God, how am I going to do this? I'm in the middle of doing a residency program. I have an infant child. I'm the only Black female resident. They're looking at everything I do. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. I got all this pressure on me, and the pressure I put on myself, because I always want to be the best. Because I stand on the shoulders of Fannie Lou Hamer, Maya Angelou. I stand on their shoulders. They were the best. So God told me, he said, be still and know that I am God. And so that's why, I said, you've just got to push. You've got to push. When you get tired, you get up and you push again. So I hope that any ladies listening, you've just got to push, or any of the young men, like we say, I made myself a note. I want to see if I can find that webinar that we did on domestic violence, because men and women are dealing with it. Like you said, are we the victims, or, so often being victimized, we don't do this. We don't talk about it because we're shamed. Actually, we're ashamed that we allowed this to happen. And people look at you and they judge you, like, why would you let yourself be treated this way? But what about the person that treated you this way? Have you asked them, why do they treat you this way? Why did they find it necessary? Why didn't they say, when they found your vulnerabilities, why didn't they say, I see her as vulnerable as she is to me, and I will not take advantage of it? But no one asks you, that. They asked the woman that's been raped, why did you wear that dress that short? Why was that dress that low? Well, ask him, why did you find it necessary to take it when you could have asked someone else for it? So.
That was good. I mean, it's so true though, exactly what you said, how, they always look at the person who has been victimized and they've put the blame on them. And it's really not. It's not on them. It's not on the person victimized. It's on the person who did it. And there's something wrong with them. But thank you again for your vulnerability and your transparency. I think that's key in helping others to overcome things that they've gone through or they're going through. But I want to get to your third word in community. And you talked about your radio show and your healthcare. So tell us about what you're doing with your radio show and how you're addressing. I know you're doing things to help address some of the issues within the Black community. So just let's talk about your radio show and your healthcare mission.
Okay. Well, the radio show is called Your Best Life. It's on Joy 106.3 FM, which is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week gospel radio station here in Daytona Beach. I talk about, and I said your best life, and I talk about things that help us to have our best lives, be it our health, our physical health, our mental health, our financial health. And so I've tried to make sure that I have guests that we talk about all of those things. I've had financial consultants to talk to us about, especially our community, not us withdrawing from being the consumers always. Why aren't we the ones that are purchasing things and having people purchase them from us? I talk about mental health. I've had a topic of mental health and the Black man. I've had talks about suicide prevention, especially in Black men. I've had mental health professionals talk about mental health stigma in the Black community. How many of us, nobody wants to, and I've been empowered that I just say, hey, my counselor is, or I've gone to a counselor just to get us familiar with it. Because for me saying that I have a primary care doctor, nobody even moves or flinches or has any judgment. They're like, everybody has a primary care doctor. Well, a mental health counselor should be just that common in our community. For me, and this is just my logic, I'm saying all the things that we as African Americans have gone through and all the traumas that we have experienced we have inherited from getting off the slave ship to trying to get off, getting on the slave ship to trying to get off to Tulsa, to Rosewood, Florida, to Ocoee massacres, to all of those massacres, to George Floyd, to Emmett Till, to, Ronald Green, to all of this, all of that trauma comes with you. It goes with you. And our community, our ethnicity, we think that it's good, it's okay to keep it inside, and it kills us. I can think of right now 3 Black men that I prayed for the other day that I hope and pray that they go to see a counselor, because some of the things that they have endured and they're thinking it's affecting them mentally, it's affecting them physically, it's affecting them in their families. The other thing I do is I'm the chair of the Community Action Group for the Fetal Infant Mortality Review Board here in Volusia and Flagler counties. And that's near and dear to my heart because of the number of African-American women that die every year. And the number of Black babies that don't, and I just think about it, every time I think about it, just disturbs me to think that there are so many Black babies, usually about 13 out of every 1,000, that don't ever make it to their first birthday. You know how you see everybody celebrating the first birthday? And I remember when my son turned 1, I had a big weekend thing. He was dedicated to his ancestors. He was christened at the church, had a party, because it was a celebration, not just for him, but for us. We made it. And because we weren't supposed to make it, because I was discouraged all the way. My ex-husband said that we weren't going to make it. I couldn't make it without him. And we made it. And so I really want to support, and it just breaks my heart when I see Black women that are not getting prenatal care like they should, or when they get delivering the baby, they're treated so horribly. I don't know how many of you ladies have seen the documentary called Death by Delivery. And if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It is available. And it talks, if you watch that, I dare you to not be moved, to know that, to see Black women, and this is not decades ago. This is like 2016, 2017, when they're showing one Black woman that she was pregnant with twins and she wasn't supposed to have another cesarean section, and the doctors did it anyway, and her uterus ruptured and she bled to death, and so did the twins die. And so that's a push for me to say, to get involved, because I don't have to, be involved in this, but I just, I've always, always have that heart to give back. Somebody gave to me, so I want to give back.
That's good. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of stories about, and a lot of people are advocating now for Black women and their pregnancies, because again, the doctors aren't giving them, nor are they giving them, the proper attention they need, nor are they taking their, their concerns, as valid concerns. They just brush it off. So I think that's good that you're doing that. Because I think isn't a judge, is it one of the judges?
Yeah.
Wasn't it her daughter-in-law?
Judy Hatchett. Hatchett? Was it
Yeah,
Judge
that's
Hatchett?
Judge
Yeah, her
Hatchett.
daughter-in-law. Mhm.
Yeah, so I take that to heart. I remember when I was pregnant with my kids, and the slightest little things, and thank God for my mom, who, I was young. I wasn't young, but I was young enough not to know, and she really helped advocate. If there was something wrong, she made sure that she, pushed with the doctors or pushed me to, to follow through with it. So that's good that you're helping to advocate on that behalf. So I want to get into your fourth word, and you talked about support. And I guess you kind of talked about already a little bit how you support those doing positive things. And I think one of the things that we can do, especially when you're out doing like radio shows and on interviews and stuff, and again, you've been very transparent and vulnerable, is talk about some of your failures that you've had and what you've learned from them, because a lot of times when people see us on these type of platforms, they forget that we've gone through struggles and certain obstacles. They think we live in this perfect life, but every day is a struggle. So can you talk about a particular failure or one of your biggest failures and how you overcame it, so someone can see that Dr. Sadie is this, but she did go through some things, so they can see that no matter what you go through, you can get there.
I'm like, I've had so many. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, which one do I select? Which failure do I talk about? I guess the failure of my marriage, because my parents were married for 40 something years. And so I never kind of thought of me actually getting, being divorced. And I guess that was such a shocker. But I also realized that I wanted to survive. And I said, survival or divorce. But, so many of us were raised to be, that great day when we get married. And so we have this thought that, things will be different, but the person that you were dating is the same person that you marry. And it's more, and I think we forget that. I think I would encourage the listening audience and the ladies here or gentlemen here to love you first. Love you first. And I used to really think that was pretty selfish or even narcissistic to say to love me first, but I realized that it's not. It's not at all. But to love you first with all your flaws, if you snore, if you chew food with your mouth open, just love, love you first for who you are, and just know that, even love your imperfections. Realize that they are imperfections and their behavior changes. If you want to change those behaviors, you can do that. You can do that. There's a lot, that was one. I still want to failure. I haven't pushed and persevered and gotten my clinical research business together like I want to. So that right now, that's a failure. I'm kind of dangling on that. And sometimes, and like, I think like you're saying, Hope, and most people would look at it, and I've talked to friends, most people would look at me and say, oh, you're successful, but I have so many more things I want to do. you know, like the clinical research company, like getting my license in podiatric medicine, and actually falling in love again. Because I would like to fall in love again. Maybe not fall anymore. I think I'm mature enough to know that you don't fall anymore. I'm mature enough to know that you allow yourself to love someone. Because everyone can you can love anyone. I think that, but I allow myself to fall in love with that person, and be and then you. I guess it's taken wisdom to know that you look at their characteristics and you allow yourself to be in love with that person, to really be in love with that person. Because if you know, it's, I don't know, to me, it's even if someone is struggling, but you've got to see that potential in them, because, both of y'all hungry doesn't make any sense. Both of you homeless, you know, because, when you're hungry, you look at him, you're like, unless you're into cannibalism, you're not going to eat him, and he's not going to eat you. So, so you got to eat. So, I think, yes, I would like to be in love again. And, for me not to have been divorced as long as I have, it's a surprise. And I think, I guess I won't call it a failure, because I think that that's really not a failure. I don't think that's really a failure. It's I just haven't fallen in love with the correct person, and the correct person hasn't fallen in love with me. And there are some people, that get to a certain point in their lives that they don't want to, they think about finances. They're like, hey, I want to leave my children this money. I don't want a wife to be part of that. So yes, plenty of things that I can think of. Yeah. So not failures, but things I haven't quite made there. But I'm still pushing. I don't think you it's not a loss. You still you turn the lemons into lemonade. And another thing that I always tell myself is, what the devil meant for bad, God tends for good. And it's so many times that there are so many things that could have happened, and you just turn it around and you're saying, okay, that could have been this, but look how God turned that around. Look how he turned that around. So I definitely, and you look at learn how to be grateful for the little things, for all the little things. And they're minimal, but to the, when you complain about your feet hurting, and you that's little to you, but then you're the man who has no feet, that's a big thing. We complain about not being able to see at night, but there's some people that can't see during the day. So, so we can, we're learning how to, I think like The Secret talks about learning how to be grateful, just grateful for everything. Yep.
That's good. I like that. It always makes me think back to something my pastor talks about. And he says that God has a purpose for our life, but the enemy also has a purpose. So it's a matter of knowing which is God and which one is the enemy. So you know not to go towards the enemy, because he's always going to make things look good, feel good, smell good. But it's not actually good for you. Whereas what God has for you is to grow and to prosper you. And again, purpose is already inside of us. So that's good. But I hope you do find love again. I think love is a beautiful thing. And loving yourself. I think loving God first, loving yourself after that. And then I think, love will eventually find you. I think the man that God has for you, he may still be working on him so that he can help support you in the next phase, in the next season of your life, of what you want to do next. So maybe there's a reason why you haven't launched that clinical research yet, because there's a man that's supposed to come in to help you to see it, to see it through. Maybe it's not something you're meant to do alone, and that's why it hasn't come through. So never look at it as a failure. Like you said, just look at it as you're not in that season at this point in time for it to come through. So yeah, I definitely think it's going to happen. It's not the season yet for it. So the other thing I want to talk about is, you talked about humanity and political involvement. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'm trying to talk with the mic going. All right. The humanity. I think about the fact that I was on a clubhouse room. Stephanie was talking about clubhouse. You have so many different conversations, and they were talking. It kind of reminds me of, they were asking, one of the questions, one of the dilemmas was, is chivalry dead? And to some people, they said, well, it's on life support. If it's not dead, it's definitely on life support. I hope it's not dead, because I like doors to be open for me. I don't like someone beeping their horn for me to come out if, I'm going on a date. I like those niceties. I like a man that walks on the the side of the street, on the outside of the street for me. I've been treated that way before, and I like it. And and I like someone to say thank you, and I like for them to say please, those common courtesies. So the humanity, I'm hoping that humanity remains humane, seeing people, if you see someone on the street that has hurt themselves, you go and try to help. So, because I was on I was doing a behavior change thing, and I said, I was going to say that I was going to do something nice for someone, do something nice every day. And I caught myself, and the actuality, I try to do that just naturally. Just trying to be who I am and be nice to someone every day. And I think that bring the humanity back to us. So many of us, we've gone through this pandemic, and we've been social distanced, and we've been, masked and shielded away from people. And I hope that hasn't removed us from our humanity, because we need that terribly. As far as like the political involvement, my dad would have us 5 girls, 1 boy, and we would sit there, and my dad would make us watch the news, 10, 11, 12 years old. And he always said, you need to watch the news, because you need to know what's going on, because what's going on decides how you eat, sleep, and drink. And so we've always, all my sisters, and we've always been very, and this is telltale on us, after Thanksgiving dinner, normally we have these big political conversations, not good for your digestion, but we have these huge confrontations on politics. Like just big fights and everything. We'd be like, no, he's wrong. And because we're so politically aware, and we'll be naming facts. We said, this article said that, but I know that politics determines where I live. It determines where my children live. It determines where they go to school. It determines where my grandchild go to school. Because politics and money go hand in hand. And America is a capitalistic society, is a capitalistic country. And money is what makes this United States go round and round. And so you have to have your hands like Sarah said, Sarah Shirley Chisholm said, if you're not at, she brings a folding chair. If they don't have a chair for me at the table, I need to bring my own chair. And the other saying is, if you're not making up the menu, you're part of the menu. So I try to stay involved in and be politically aware of what's going on. I vote every time. I've been asked to run for some. I'm just kind of scared, because people might not want to know what I really feel. It's yes, political involvement makes a big difference. I can't economics and politics they're one and the same.
That's good. Yeah, your dad probably wouldn't be happy with me, because I do not watch the news. It's depressing to me, because it's just like the same stuff over and over again. And I just feel like it's so negative. I remember being younger, my grandmother always watched news. She watched 5 o'clock news, watched 6 o'clock news. And I just don't remember it being as depressing as it is now. So I definitely don't watch the news. So I would be in trouble, because I never know what's going on. I don't even know the weather half time. When I walk out the door, it could be freezing or raining. And unless I hear the rain, I have no idea what's going on. But so it's 7:20, and I want to be cognizant of time, but I want to open the floor to anyone who may have a question for Dr. Sadie. So if there is anybody that has a question for Dr. Sadie, please unmic yourself and come on in and ask your questions.
Hey, Hope, this is Sabrina. I don't think I have so much of a question, but more of a comment to Dr. Sadie. She is one of my most favorite people on the earth. I'm so proud of you. I wasn't able to catch the entire interview, but I am so proud of you and everything that you do. And I'm so glad that I was able to support this part of the interview, and just to be able to see you give words of wisdom and encouragement. And just so grateful that God blessed me with you in this season in my life, is having someone where I can sit at their feet and get true knowledge and true wisdom on how to move forward with doing things in my life. So I'm so grateful for you and to you for you extending yourself and being so selfless with me. Dr. Sadie and I are walking partners, laughing partners. We do a whole lot. I just wanted to tell you thank you. And I so appreciate you. I love you. And I am so happy that you decided to lift your voice, because you have a lot to say and a lot to offer.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thanks for joining us, Miss Sabrina. Anybody else have any questions or would like to give Dr. Sadie her flowers, as Stephanie would say?
Hi, Dr. Sadie. My name is Julie Robinson. I'm the sister of Hope Jackson. It was a good thing we were able to put these mics on mute, because I've been shouting and hallelujah and amen and giving you high fives through your whole entire interview. But thank you. You know, definitely everything that you said was a blessing. It was very inspirational to others. I agree with you with the fact about the mental health issues. You have to find somebody who is culturally attached to you, as opposed to just being a male or a female, because there are so many cultural differences that they do not understand when it comes to the Black community, that it'll take you millions of sessions to even try to explain it to somebody. So definitely that factor that you said touched my heart with. The other thing with you being divorced, I'm divorced as well. Thank God it was never any domestic violence, but I don't take it as a failure. I look at it as a life learned lesson. It allows us to learn ourselves on what we're willing to accept and not to accept. I myself got married at a very early age. So I always say that two people can either grow together or grow apart. And unfortunately, we grew apart, but we are good friends now, and our children are grown. So everything is much better. But I'm like you too. I never expected to be divorced as long as I am. I've been divorced 9 years, and he's been happily remarried for 7. So, you know, that's how life goes. But I say, you know, he found the woman that was right for him. So I praise him for that. I bless him for that. And just take it as a life learned lesson, because unfortunately, the culture or the lives that we were grown up to, we were taught to be silent. We were taught to keep those issues within the family. But now we're learning we have a voice. We have to use our voice, because this world is so different that has to come out of us, or we're destroying ourselves. So definitely continue growing, continue striving, continue blessing our community. And I thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Sadie, before we get off tonight, I don't know if someone else has a question, I think someone else, but can you make sure you put your contact information in the chat, so if anybody wants to connect you connect with you, they can. So somebody else had a question, something, come on up.
Well,
Hey,
this-
Hope, this is Sabrina. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Julie was saying, as well as Dr. Sadie, about the mental health portion. You guys know I work for insurance. If you know of anybody that needs help, or they're struggling to, find assistance, there is assistance available for those that don't have insurance at all, as well as those that do have insurance. Check your policies, because right now, due to COVID, a telehealth visit, a virtual visit with your counselor, your copay may be covered. So the visit may be totally free. So if that's a worry, even though people do have insurance, they still worry about the copay. So if you come across someone and they do have insurance, tell them to just check their policy, because those visits may cost them nothing at this time.
That's good information, because I just left the grocery store and boy, are things expensive now. So, so yeah, everybody's looking at the nickels and dimes and pennies and dollars. So yeah, that's just one more expense. And if they don't have to pay for it, they might be more, give you more incentive to go and talk to somebody, tell them about your issues. And it's funny because I have a couple of friends that are mental health counselors now, and they tease me and say that, they go to mental health counselors, they have a counselor. And someone, I had someone told me about, oh, what was the counselor seeing the counselor? I said, a hairdresser has a hairdresser, a physician has a physician. And my mental health counselor, when I told her that, she said when she was working on her master's, she had to, that was part of the program that you had to have as a counselor, you had to have a counselor. And I could just even, imagine some of the traumas that people have gone through and have had to go to talk to a counselor. If you took all of that in, whew, that's that's a lot. That is a lot. That's too much. That's too much.
Tony, did you have something you wanted to say?
I actually just wanted to make a real brief comment, especially since, we're limited for time now. But Dr. Sadie, it's nice to meet you. I just appreciate your being so authentic and transparent. I just want to, salute you for being a champion and for taking on the challenge of being involved in so many different areas. While you're hurting, you still made a decision to just keep reaching out and reaching up. You talked about looking up, reaching up, and making decisions about what you wanted to do, first of all, to help yourself, so that you could learn how to help so many other people. So I just want to, hey, I'm cheering for you. You are what I call a champion, sister. Okay, and just be encouraged. Keep doing it, because people are listening. Those who have not experienced what you've experienced, and those who have, female and male. I love all the areas that you say you're involved in, the political area and the social platforms, all these things that you're doing. So kudos, Stephanie. Thank you for having Dr. Sadie on as our guest tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So Dr. Sadie, as we are nearing the end, I would just like for you to take an opportunity to share some final thoughts and words of encouragement to our audience. Just anything you feel will help, them to transform their lives. And as your 5-word story, the first 2 always stick out with me is the resilience and the perseverance. Just share what it is you want them to know.
Well, I think the final thought would be that you can make it. You can make it, and so many others have come before you. So many people have been through what you're going through, and just know you're going through. Like the song said, on the other side of through, you're going through it. And just keep pushing, Sometimes the door seems closed, but if you just push a little harder, it opens. Just keep on pushing and be be strong. And if you have some support, family, friends, encourage them and they encourage you. It like the gospel song, sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And that's, I look at it, and there's so many things that I've just had to learn how to push on, even though it's been people who have been pushed against me, even people that you thought would always be there for you and supportive. And sometimes you turn around and they're not there. But you turn around and God is in front, he's in back, and he's on your side. So you just keep on going. That's the only thing, because I know I have definitely had to deal with having people that were knowing people and expecting people to be supportive of me, and they were not. And I'm talking about close family and close friends. They were not there, but you still make it. And it's so surprising, because when you make it, they're so proud of you. They're so proud of you. They're just like, oh my gosh, oh, it's congratulations. And you're like, but I remember when you wouldn't even help me, when you wouldn't, when you wouldn't, fix me a sandwich when I was hungry and I was trying to, or give me a sofa to sleep on. But I said, okay, Lord, but you can make it. With whoever's on here listening, whoever listens in the future, God is on your side. You can make it. And you just got to just keep on pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Thank you.
Wow. I was loving, I seen all our folks coming in and giving them flowers. I was sitting there, hallelujah, praising and all over the place. Like, look at my people giving them flowers. And listen, first of all, the co-host is in here bringing the heat. Is she not awesome? Fire. That's why this is why you don't worry about nothing. You always roll with those that got your front and your back. She had it. You all just fabulous. I saw Supreme Ty. I saw you on here, girl. I saw you. So look, yeah, I saw it, and I'm loving the hair. Firecracker. You still a firecracker. Always, nothing stops, nothing. See, the fire comes from inside you, girl. But let me tell you this, Dr. Sadie. You came on here dropping fire. Let me just tell you that I was listening, and I said to myself, boy, it's nothing like hearing when you hear your story and everybody else's story that you've heard many times over, right? It never gets easier to hear. It never gets easier to listen to. And it's easy to tell the story, but more importantly, to hear your story, but to see the woman that you are and know how you're changing lives every time you open your mouth, right? Every time you tell your truth, every time you're so transparent, because you know what? It's easy to be quiet. It's easy to not talk about the hard stuff. It's hard to tell truths. And you told your truth in here, and you spoke truth to power, even though it was tough to do. Yes. So I honor you, Queen. I honor you for all of that. I thank you for bringing your authentic self, because sometimes it's hard. It's hard. It's just so much easier to just put the mask on and peep through the little look. Peep through. It's easier to do that. It's because you ain't got to tell anybody. Because then you got to be. It's like I equate it to being like you being naked standing in a room, right? No clothes on, with all your rolls, and everything showing. And this is going to change lives, because the folks that are going to listen to the replay, they're not going to only hear all the wonderful things that everybody else said about and to you. They're not going to also see and hear the wonderful things and listen to how the co-host was rolling this thing and asking wonderful questions. But they're going to say, man, Dr. Sadie, let's start there. Dr. Sadie talked about it was hard, but I did it. It's hard, but I'm tell you my truth. And you told them it may still be hard, but you got to do it anyway. So you all, this is the part of the time, and I love when we go over. That means that it was hot, it was fire. So those of you that's watching the replay, I encourage you to put an R in there and drop those flowers. And Dr. Sadie, I think I did see you put your point how they can reach you, but we're going to put that in the main feed As always, you know, we have no competition. If you heard something that is what you needed to hear, if you need to contact Dr. Sadie, if you should want to, you know, you should, you know, if there's something in your spirit, you say, oh my God, I connected with her. I need you to reach out to her and talk to her, right? Reach out. This is why we bring everyone on these shows, because, you know, here we go. This is the time of the day, but I tell you to shine your light. I believe, and I know all of you, because I feel like the folks, kindred spirits come together. I know that the light inside of me is the Holy Spirit, because I believe in the Holy Trinity. And I believe that if I don't shine my light, and I believe if you don't shine yours, if you don't walk in your gifts, those things, those gifts, talents, and abilities, that's God-given gifts. If you don't walk in them, if you don't operate in them, and you don't shine your light, which means you go out there and do it. If you don't bless other people by telling your truths or showing up or being present or doing the things that you know is your gift, then that blessing will not be received by its intended target, because God works through people and we are those people. So Dr. Sadie, I thank you for walking and operating and functioning in your gift, because that blessing landed on the people who were supposed to. It's going to continue to do so. So as Lisa Nichols says, listen, shine those lights. And if the lights are too bright for you, put on your sunglasses. If it's too bright for others, ask them to put on theirs. Hope, is there anything else that we have?
That is it.
All right, that's it. That's all. So another round of applause to the co-host, because she was on it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Hope. I honor you. Thank you, Dr. Sadie, for coming on here. We must have you back again, my Sarah. Thank you for all the guests. Thank you for all of everybody who's in the room. For those of you who's going to watch it, don't forget, drop your little nuggets in there. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Have a great one, everybody.